I almost never say that entrepreneurs can transform their income or their revenue or their sales overnight. There's only a couple moves that you can really do that provide that level of a transformation. This is one. Your unique selling proposition or unique selling point, USP, whatever you want to call it, is the thing that helps you differentiate yourself from every other competitor in the market. So if you're selling a service, it is the way that if you and 15 other service providers were standing in a room, that when your target market, when your ideal, perfect dream client walked in the door, that they could look at all 15 or 16 of you and say, that person is for me. Now, the thing is, everybody thinks they have one. Okay, like I've helped 100 people build unique selling propositions, and everyone thinks that they have one when they start. People doing coaching or consulting or other services like that. What you usually hear are things like, oh, well, I've been in the industry for 10 years. I've got, an MBA. I've got XYZ certification. Like, listen, a lot of those things, those are great. But for the most part, those things are prerequisites, right? Like if I'm hiring a consultant or I'm hiring a coach or I'm hiring any other professional service, if I'm hiring an IT company, I'm assuming that you know what you're talking about. I'm assuming that you've got some experience and I'm not your guinea pig here. And those things aren't a real USP. In fact, a friend of mine, Robin Robbins, does an exercise with her IT clients, and she'll stand in front of the room at one of her workshops, and she'll say, hey, who has a USP? And you'll see somebody's hand go up and she'll say, okay, cool. Like, so what's your USP? Well, network is up 99% of the time, and we've got great customer service, and our techs are really smart, and they'll rattle off 5 or 6 things. She'll look at the rest of the room and she'll say, okay, so who else here can claim all of those things? And everybody's hand goes up. Most of the people are using the same unique selling proposition, which is why there's no true and real differentiation. If you want to earn significantly more per unit of time or whatever resource that you want to use, you're going to have to stand out. You're going to have to differentiate yourself. You're going to have to create a strong, compelling, clear, unique selling proposition. What that unlocks for you as a business is the ability to have pricing power. When you are unique and you are fully differentiated and you are seen as the right fit for the right niche, you have the ability to charge more. You also have the ability to create exclusivity. If you are the best provider for a particular market, you almost by default create some level of scarcity. When you have created a brand and you've created a market that's given you the exclusivity, that's allowed you to stand out, you have a built-in moat. Because in order for me to compete with you, I now not have to just replicate the service or the outcomes that you're getting for people. I now have to overcome the disadvantage of the fact that you were perceived to be the right person for that market. A really good USP will actually deter people from even trying to compete with you. I oftentimes coach founders of service businesses that are trying to package their expertise, and they're saying, gosh, this is my specialty, but so-and-so is already doing that. And I can see it, I can hear it. That means so-and-so has that market. So-and-so has a good, unique selling proposition, and I'll bet you so-and-so can charge a hell of a lot more for their services, and they're deterring people from even wanting to get into that market. Now, how do you create a good USP? Here's what I would do. First thing I would do is I would go find 20 competitors, and I would go look at their websites, and I would scan what are they claiming as their USP. Look at their website, look at the about page, look at the what makes us different page, look at they somewhere, some way on the website, they are trying to convey what makes them different. And what you'll find most of the time with professional services is you'll see that 18 of them have the same damn USP. Okay, so 1, it helps you go, all right, don't lean into those things. And 2, it helps you identify what are the things that are really standing out? Who are the people, who are the players that are actually standing out in this space? Then when you've got a basic assessment of the market and the lay of the land, at least at a high level, you can also spot some gaps, right? Like you can see, hey, no one is actually speaking to this market. No one is speaking to this problem. No one is speaking to this process. Then armed with that audit, what you do is you actually conduct an audit on yourself. You say, or your business, like if you're a solopreneur, do it on yourself. If you're a small business owner, go ahead and do it on the business and say, what are all of our strengths? Just get all of them on paper. Like everything that you think might be part of your USP, list them all. Like it can be a list a mile long if you want. Then you look at that list and you say, all right, which of these is actually relevant to my market? Because you undoubtedly have on this list a lot of strengths that your market may not care that much about. Cut the list that way first. You say, okay, which of these does my market actually give a shit about? Then you look at that list and you say, Now, which of these are truly unique? Unique in the sense that I couldn't start a company tomorrow and claim the things that you were saying are unique. You offer great customer service? Nah, like that's great. Like that's cool. That's not unique. That's what everyone's gonna say. You're a consultant with an MBA? Okay, cool. You're a CFO that also offers some strategic insight, not just accounting. Okay, like I've heard that quite a bit. Like you really wanna look at these things, and the litmus test is, can my competitor put that on their website? If they can, if they will, then chances are you don't have something that's unique. Doesn't mean you can't use it in your marketing. Doesn't mean it's not a strength that you can use. It's just not part of your USP. So for me, instead of saying, I've got 20 years of sales experience, or I've got 15 years of sales management experience, and I've got an MBA, what I'm gonna say is, I was head of the US Chamber of Commerce's National Small and Mid-Sized Business Unit for more than a decade. I ran the national P&L for the largest business federation in the world. I was CEO of a private equity group. Then I moved my family to a remote Mexican beach where I learned to generate $1 million online. These are pieces of a story that make it difficult for someone else to say. Now, from a business standpoint, we can look at it and we can go, okay, let's look at our social proof. We've helped 6 people hit their first $1 million in sales. I've got more than 75 testimonials. I've coached more than 100 founders. And you can look in all sorts of areas. Like maybe your process is proprietary. Maybe your pricing mechanism is unique. Maybe you've got more social proof than everyone else. Maybe you legitimately have more experience than everyone else in the space. Usually not the case, but if you do, I'd certainly leverage the shit out of that. Now, the other thing you want to think about with the USP is it's got to be provable, like before somebody actually pays you money. You don't want to say we offer good customer service, not only because everyone else can say it, but that's not something that I can really sink my teeth into. Like, how do I know that until after I pay you money? Or I'm a really smart person, or I really care about my clients, or I'm gonna try really hard. Like those things don't really matter. Like at the end of the day, because none of them can be proved. You want to look for things, or can you quantify it? Can you prove it? Like, can you demonstrate it before somebody actually pays you? One of the coolest stories that I think around a USP has been the story of Planet Fitness. So Planet Fitness leveraged its USP, and it is now a critical part of its business model. The story goes, Planet Fitness started, they had stiff competition. They were up against all the other gyms in the US. And they basically took a step back and they said, we're competing with 24-hour fitness, and we're competing with all these like Golds and, bigger name gyms. Here's kind of something unique. 80% of Americans don't have a gym membership. 80% of Americans don't really belong in a gym. Like they're not there to power lift. They're not there to do a lot of the shit that you're going to see at like a Gold's gym. In fact, most of those people are intimidated to go to the gym. Right? They're embarrassed to go to the gym. Why don't we, instead of competing for 20% of the market and being just like everybody else and trying to stand out on our sales and our marketing and everything else, why don't we just make our gym different and make it for 80% of the market? They start marketing to the 80% of people. They actually change elements about the business and they say, we are for you, 80% of the market. They aren't. We can prove it in the way that we price our services. We can prove it in the way that we sell our services. We can prove it in the equipment that we have in the gym. We can show you around and show you we don't have the same stuff. We don't have the same equipment. We don't have the same people that you're going to find in a lot of these other gyms. We're going to slap on the wall things like no judgment zone, right? Like we're going to make it easy for you so that when 20 gyms are in a room, hypothetically speaking, and somebody from the 80% of the market walks in and says, which one do I want? Planet Fitness stands out. But that to me is one of the most powerful examples of how a USP can influence the business strategy and create a moat and make a business completely identifiable to its market. And they've leveraged the hell out of it and done quite well. So the question is, what makes you different? How are you different? What makes you truly, truly unique? And if I walked into a room with you and 14 or 15 of your other competitors, and I was your ideal client, would I know that you were for me? And how would I know? Until after I paid you. Do you have a USP clearly carved out? Do you know what it is? Do you know what differentiates you? Do you know how I'm going to clearly see that you are for me? If not, developing a strong USP is a hell of a place to start. Hope this has been helpful. Adios.